Hey guys, Tisha here, and we are back for another Love Times 3 reading. I'm going to start off by saying sorry for the noise that you may hear in the background. They are working on a roof in the apartment complex, and you can hear it. There's also a lot of commotion outside today because people are home. It is Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Is that what you're supposed to say? I'm just happy I'm off day. That seems insensitive. Anyways, you won't be seeing this until Tuesday, but I want to go ahead and get this out there. In case I forget to say it at the end, please like the video. It does help me out in these YouTube streets. I am trying to create a buzz for myself over more than just my sister wife videos. I appreciate each and every one of you for the part that you play in helping me get my name out there. So let's begin. This is chapter 8, Love Times 3. It is a pure and holy principle, and therefore persons, either male or female, who have not the desire in their hearts to become pure and righteous, have no business to practice it. For it cannot be practiced acceptably before God or any other principle than that of purity and righteousness. This is Joseph Smith, 6th president of the LDS Church in 1878. Joe. Vicky and I went to a friend's home to watch the debut episode of HBO's Big Love. Val and Alina were at a birthday party and planned to meet up with us afterwards. They arrived just as we were getting ready to head home. As we stood in our friend's driveway, we had our own big love moment. We had a lot of scheduling changes during the week and couldn't remember whose night it was, which would determine who was going to ride home with me. I don't remember. What did we trade? Alina asked. We all looked at each other. I can't remember either, I said. I thought it was my turn, Vicky said tentatively, but I'm not sure. Well, this is awkward, I said. We've got to make a choice here. Talk about big love. We all laughed. Alina called home to see if one of the kids could check the calendar. This was in our pre-BlackBerry days, but no one answered, so we made an on-the-spot decision, knowing we could sort things out later. We made it Vicky's night. So let's get right to it. What you really want to know is how I manage sleeping arrangements with my 3 wives, right? He has sleeping in quotes. Okay. All right. Yep. There's a schedule. At the beginning of our marriage, we based the order on age and rotated nightly. That's still the way we do it. Alina, Vicky, and then Val in one big circle. We now put the schedule in our Blackberries and stick to it as much as we can. I know some plural families who live and die by the schedule with no flexibility for life's unplanned events. We try to be reasonable. When Val recently had surgery, Alina and Vicky gave up nights knowing Val needed extra attention from me. Other times we swapped because of a business trip or special event. The problem, though, is that once one wife's night is skipped, it can take a while to catch up and get her back in the rotation. For example, say it's Vicky's night on Saturday, but I take Val on the weekend getaway, leaving on Saturday and returning on Monday. Vicky trades her Saturday nights for Val's Wednesday night. Val thus gets Saturday and her regular Sunday. Monday is Alina's night as scheduled. Then Vicky has Tuesday and Wednesday nights. This is too much. When you really think about it and put that into perspective, it's just too much. Then it's Alina's night, Vicky's night again, and finally a week later it's Val's turn. See why we get confused sometimes? I just say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like y'all doing too much for me. That just made me. I've been really surprised by the prying questions I routinely get about sex lives. From whether we sleep together, all 4 of us, or how I would feel if one of my wives wanted to sleep with another man. Do monogamists get asked that question? Especially that last one? Of course I wouldn't like it. I have 3 separate sexual relationships with my wives. Well, here we go. Here's the thing. He's probably not going to tell us everything. But the fact that he's openly saying, I have 3 sexual relationships with my wives, he's not skirting around it. He's getting straight to the point. I can appreciate the little bit that he's given. I can really appreciate that. There's absolutely no kinkiness. When Alina, Vicky, and I were first married, we heard that there were rumors we were having a menage a trois. I didn't even know that phrase. I didn't know what it meant. It's a Puritan idea that many people can't shake, though it couldn't be further from the truth. In 2006, author and psychiatrist Keith Ablow invited me, my wife, Val, and daughters, Laura and Amanda, on his talk show. They were identified only by first name for legal reasons. I participated without being shown or identified. I thought I was prepared for just about any question, so it caught me off guard when Ablow asked me what I would do if one of my wives brought home another woman and wanted to have a sexual relationship with her. I told him my wives are free to make that choice, but it's just not in keeping with our religious values. And that goes both ways. The behavior of Bill Henriksen on Big Love, his courting of the 4 wives, the way he had sex with one wife in another wife's bed, was terribly offensive to me. I did watch, I think 3 episodes of Big Love after reading this book and seeing it mentioned. And I was overwhelmed with everything that was going on in that episode, to the point where I was like, let's say I were to try to do this. How in the world? I was like, nope, I don't even want to go down this road. It's just too much for me. He's very disrespectful, and I will find myself going off a lot in that review. That was Hollywood, not our life. I consider maybe for him it was, because I don't know. Everybody, we've seen how Cody operates. Everybody doesn't seem as clean cut as Joe or as spiritually tied, because a lot of what Joe does and says, he mentions his religion. We didn't see that as much with the Browns later on. So I consider my intimate relationships sacred and don't talk about them with anyone, which has left me feeling quite alone at times. When a problem surfaces, it's not as though I can go talk to another wife about it. That's really taboo for us. Why can't he talk to a professional? I would say talk to one of your friends, but I get it. They're not going to do that. But talk to a professional about it. That's really taboo for us. Besides making sure each intimate relationship is 100% private between the two of us, I have learned not to make my time with each wife all about the sexual experience. Otherwise, they assume that's my focus when I'm with the other wives, which only causes jealousy and competitiveness. If my wives thought my interest in them was only sexual, it would be difficult for them to trust each other and respect me. Having multiple relationships has reinforced for me that the intimacy a woman really craves involves being cherished and cared for, understood, and valued. Now, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Each of my wives brings a uniqueness and richness to my life. I appreciate the time I've had with each wife as well as our time apart. When it's one wife's night again, I genuinely find that I've missed her, and I'm really looking forward to having time to connect physically and emotionally. Connections that are as important in plural marriage as they are in a monogamous relationship. But as any couple knows, there is more to a good relationship than what goes on in the bedroom. The essence of plural marriage is not sex. There are much easier and cheaper ways for a man to get sex than promising to love, support, and care for multiple women in a spiritually based committed marriage. The essence, didn't Robin say something similar to that? Like if Cody wanted just sex, he could go out and get a prostitute. The essence of plural marriage is self-actualization, and especially for men, learning to overcome a carnal nature from the beginning. I knew our relationships would require more than just romantic love to sustain them. I want my wives to have my unconditional love, what the Greeks called agape, a higher and purer form of love. When I am in touch with pure love, there is no desire to possess, no desire to hold, or no desire to control. I kind of talked about this in one of my most recent reviews, where my pastor was talking about preconditioned love and how a lot of what people have is preconditioned. It's not unconditional, because unconditional love means that you're going to love people in all their phases. Even the things that aren't so good, you're still going to love them. And it seems like that is what he's talking about here, is that higher form of love, he says, that pure love. Living this lifestyle requires me to focus on fundamental gospel principles and work to overcome the slothful, selfish, jealous, lustful, and prideful aspects of my character. I can't be controlling or manipulative, behaviors that have doomed many plural marriages. And I've learned the hard way that I have to keep my temper in check. Oh, wow. Okay. In the early years of married life, I found myself becoming my father at times. Once Vicky's car broke down and I had to have it towed behind my truck to the repair shop. Vicky was steering her car. We came to an intersection where we had to make a left-hand turn. I started to make the turn, but Vicky braked, slowing us down as oncoming traffic approached. We narrowly avoided getting hit. After we cleared the intersection, I pulled over to the side of the road and was shouting at Vicky before I even climbed out my truck. "What the hell are you doing? I told you what to do," I yelled. She burst into tears, which made me stop short. She hadn't done anything wrong, and I was taking my frustration out on her, just as my father used to do to me. To this day, Vicky won't help me tow a car. Oh, it was bad then. If it's to the point where Vicky doesn't even want to help him tow a car, it was bad. That twin said, no, I'm not going. I sometimes snapped in other stressful occasions too. Alina would just argue back and tell me I was being a jerk when that happened, but it would crush Vicky. Her father had never been harsh or aggressive, and she expected me to be as gentle as he was. I would tell Vicky not to take my actions personally, and she'd say, "How can I not?" She was right, of course, and learning to control my temper was a big issue for me. A lot of men are like the trainer I met at a local gym. He didn't believe me at first when I introduced Alina, Vicky, and Val as my wives. Then grinning, he said, "I'm so jealous. I like to try that. I wish I had 5 wives." "Yeah, right," I said. "Everyone says that, but they haven't thought through what it means." This lifestyle has required me to give up many worldly things in order to provide for my family. I rarely indulge in hobbies or activities I used to enjoy, such as skiing and golfing. I've given up certain career opportunities because of my family obligations, including a great job offer that would have required me to travel frequently out of state. I would have been a much wealthier businessman if I had opted for a different kind of family. I never thought about that aspect of it, that the men too have to sacrifice because they're told that having these wives is a good thing, as well as having these multiple children is a good thing. But that does put a further strain on them. I never thought about it like that. But those sacrifices are nothing compared to the pressures on me to sustain 3 healthy, monogamous, but interwoven marriages. I have to provide what each of my wives needs in her unique relationship with me, while simultaneously making sure that the relationships are in harmonies with each other. So, unlike Cody, this man has to consider his wife's feelings. Well, look at that. He also has to consider how they flow together. My wife's personalities are different, and so is the love language that works best for each one of them. Distinctions they expect me to recognize and appreciate. I know that's right. Vicky's personality is analytical, determined, and deliberate. She is a peacemaker. She is also adventurous and athletic, likes creative dates, and needs plenty of quality one-on-one time with me. One year for her birthday, I did a treasure hunt that took her throughout the Salt Lake Valley, from a floral shop to a chocolate store to a shopping mall, where I met her and helped her pick out a new dress, and finally to the Anniversary Inn, where we spent a romantic evening together in the Romeo and Juliet room. That is her idea of a good time. Alina comes from a boisterous family, and she's strong-willed, assertive, opinionated, and decisive, a real take-charge person. She enjoys trying new restaurants, attending cultural events, and spending a day pampered at a spa. For Alina, nothing expresses love more than acts of service, such as having me take her on a Sunday breakfast duties when she isn't feeling well, or replacing a broken fan in her room without being asked. Val is very affectionate, loyal, loving, and a great listener. Like me, Val is a bookworm. So a perfect date with her is a trip to the bookstore where we get a treat and browse the shelves, or a quiet night at home with just the two of us snuggling up on the couch to watch a romantic movie I've picked out just for her. Val wants affirmation of my love through physical touch, holding hands, hugs, and kisses. My wives know that I really open up and feel comfortable when I hold hands or have them close to me. This was a problem at first for Alina and me. She would never kiss me in public and wouldn't even hold my hand or hug me when we're at her parents' home. Who does she sound like? She's being labeled as the peacemaker. She's analytical in her thought process. She doesn't really like love language now. Well, she doesn't really like affection. Now she seems to be a little bit more boisterous, but she is reminding me of Janelle. My wives know, okay, she would never kiss me in public and wouldn't even hold my hand or hug me when we were at her parents' home. I thought at first that she wasn't attracted to me. Vicky was the complete opposite, and I soaked up her affection, which then made Alina feel rejected. Because y'all remember, he done made out with Vicky in the car. He made out with her while they were looking at the stars, and she was knocked out beside him. Him and Vicky had a lot of passionate moments. When we'd been married 5 years, I took Alina to Seattle for her birthday. We had a wonderful romantic time, and she was more affectionate to me than she'd ever been. I like this a lot, I told her. I wish you were more like this all the time. Instead of being like a stove that goes from cold to hot with no warm setting in between. I am not, however, usually affectionate in public when I'm with all three of my wives. There are a number of reasons for that. If I hold hands with Alina and Vicky, how is Val going to feel? If I put my arms around two of the wives at once, will strangers be uncomfortable? I am respectful of other people's views, and I try to be discreet. At a movie, for example, I may have a wife on either side of me, and I will take turns holding their hands. Sometimes observant people will notice and wonder what's going on. We are sometimes watched closely, even by family members and other fundamentalists who are looking at us as an example or to see if I have a favorite. I feel a lot of pressure to make sure my behavior is not misinterpreted, including by my wives. I got so gun-shy about this when we were first married that I avoided the whole problem by not being affectionate with either Vicky or Alina when we were out together. They didn't like that solution either. Now I just try to be more aware and balance my attention I give each of them, though my wives' different personalities make that challenging, which is kind of what we saw, the balance on Sister Wives when they were up there, because in front of the Browns, he was kissing one here, hugging one here, holding one here. And the Browns made mention of how affectionate that they were. It wasn't something that they were accustomed to seeing, especially because they were doing it in front of each other's faces. Alina is more outgoing, naturally drawing more interaction from me and from others as well. Vicky was used to that after their shared time at my parents' house, but after Val came into the family, she was jealous because she thought I paid more attention and gave more respect to Alina. We were at a restaurant one night when I noticed Val shut down all of a sudden. When we got home, she went to her bedroom and slammed the door. I knocked and went in after her. What's wrong? I asked. You were looking at Alina during our entire conversation tonight, she said. No, I wasn't. Yes, you were. It was obvious. It's not fun to be worried about which way to turn your head in the conversation. I told Val I couldn't live my life worrying about every move I made, from whose hand I grabbed first to where eyes rested in the conversation. But I also realized I needed to be more aware of how my behavior might affect her. I just don't, when I hear stuff like this, I just don't see how this isn't stressful a lot of times. Do you think that I want to be in a room with my man and have to worry if I stare at him too long that someone might be offended? Or if we're sitting on the couch and on this particular day, I just don't happen to snuggle into him, that, oh my God, something's wrong, or why is she not snuggling into her right now? That's just too much. And Val, I get it, but it's too much. Like, The lady was talking and he was giving her eye contact. Sometimes, though, I can't win for losing. Trying to meet one wife's needs gets me in trouble with another. After I married Val, she needed so much attention from me that I soon felt smothered. After 10 years of marriage, Alina and Vicky were fine with the simple dates, a trip to visit relatives or afternoon in the park. But Val was a newlywed and wanted romantic interludes and fancy dates and expected me to plan them. I couldn't handle it and began acting indifferent towards her. A typical conversation went like this. Val, it's our date night on Friday. Where are we going? Me, I don't know. I don't have anything planned. I'm fine if we just stay home. Val, with sarcasm, oh great. Me, well, why don't you plan something then? Tell me what you want to do. I'm not traditional. When I hear things like this, I realize that I'm not traditional. I am the type of person that if you're not going to do it and I want it, I will plan it. I'm with somebody who, God bless his little soul. There are days where he completely surprises me and it's just like, oh, this is so sweet. Even times when it's at home stuff and he's done at home dates and he's, cooked for me or created a picnic or whatever. It's cute. But there are other times where I have to be like, okay, you're off this day. You're driving and I'm going to tell you where we're going. It's just, you got to find what works for you all. I think sometimes, ladies, I'm talking to you all, that we always want the men to do things. Why can't we do things sometimes too? I told you I'm not traditional in all aspects. That's one of them. Okay, back to this. But Val just shut down. One time I was looking for something in her nightstand. Her journal was open and I happened to see that the page was peppered with 4-letter words. Oh. That certainly let me know how she felt. The pressure got to be too much, and I purposely began to not plan anything fun or our nights out together. That wasn't pressure. That was him being annoyed with her and him punishing her. So this is an example of him doing what Cody does. I'm going to call it like I see it. You got upset because you happened to fall upon her journal. You saw the journal. You didn't have to read it. You said peppered with 4-letter words, which means it was all over the place. So you took the time to read it, okay, without asking her permission. Now, granted, they're married, to each his own as far as that's concerned, but you punished her by not planning anything when you know that that's something that she wants. All right, Joe, you're showing me some of your slick ways, but you worded it like the pressure got too much. I'm not gonna let that slide. Val finally went to Vicky and asked for her advice. Not too long after their conversation, Val took the initiative and planned a day trip to Park City. She asked Alina to watch her children and arranged several fun activities for us, including a concert. See? Afterward, now, I'm saying see, but understand I still don't like what Joe did. I got to put that out there. Like, we're not going to be petty about it. We're going to talk about it and we're going to move on. You're not going to sit here and try to punish me in other ways. That's not going to work for T. It's just not. Afterward, we talked and walked to a gazebo and I held Val close, my jacket draped around her. I opened up about the stress I've been feeling in our relationship. Val told me she'd taken to heart Vicky's advice, which was to be a giver, not a taker, and was working to change her expectations of me. We were able to talk through our feelings so productively that the time got away from us. When we noticed how late it was, we decided to stay overnight. I thought Val had called home and she thought I did. Ooh, why didn't y'all just ask one another? People think there's no such thing as a doghouse for polygamous men, but there is, and by the next morning, I was in it. As we pulled into the driveway, I can tell that Alina was furious before I even parked the car. She was in the front yard, and I'd never seen her pulling weeds so fast. I heard her call to the children who were playing nearby and tell them to go to the backyard. I got out of the car and said hello, but I hardly gotten the word out before Alina shouted that she needed to talk to us. We went inside and she sat in the living room. I had no idea you planned to stay the night, she said accusingly. Why didn't someone call me? I felt grossly disrespected by both of you. That was so unfair. Alina, you're just being jealous, I said. Oh, Val and I really needed this time to connect. Picture foot in mouth after I made this really dumb comment. Well, I'm so glad you had a breakthrough moment with Val, but you could have taken a minute to call me. I started to respond, but Alina cut me off as she stood up. Go to hell, she said, stomping off. She slammed her bedroom door so hard a shoe holder fell off and it broke. By the way, we don't normally have big loud fights, but I do get the message when a door is slammed. Alina was right. I should have taken the responsibility to let her know what we were doing. I had been thinking only of Val, not Alina or Vicky, and that wasn't fair. That experience refocused me on the importance of thinking through every move I make. It took weeks to work through the hard feelings, but I'm a man, and sometimes I repeat my mistakes before the lessons really sinks in. It wasn't too many years after this episode that I took Alina on an overnight date for Mother's Day. I fully intended to do the same for Vicky and Val, but in the meantime, I picked up a potted plant to give each of them when we got home. Wow, did that ever bomb? For one thing, Val hates potted plants. Other special occasions can be really tough too. Alina and Vicky share an anniversary. Vicky and Val share a birthday. And what about Valentine's Day? Now that's a complicated holiday for polygamists. One year, this was pre-Val, I ordered roses for Alina and Vicky. The florist looked at me like, yeah, you're a player. I had arranged for the roses to be delivered separately, but mistakenly put Alina's name on both. Joe out here making all types of elementary mistakes. That's like me when I accidentally text the wrong thing to the wrong people. I couldn't ever be a cheater, y'all. I would be busted. I've done that a few times. One of the hardest things for me to do is take one wife on a trip or a special date, leaving the other two at home. But the prejudice against our lifestyle also makes it hard for us to publicly acknowledge our connections to one another. Even among other fundamentalist Mormons, it's bad form to ask someone to identify a spouse or spouses to ask how many wives or sister wives someone has. When one close friend took a third wife, I didn't learn about it until 9 months later. I had all 3 wives with me during a recent business trip to San Francisco where I met with a new client. And these are, he asked as his eyes circled our little group, what was I supposed to say? It's interesting that they don't even share the dynamic of them having wives, even with other people who are a part of their faith or who have the similar thought process. It's just odd to me. It's a lot of secrecy that goes on. What was I supposed to say? During that same trip, I faced a dilemma. While checking into our hotel, I had 2 rooms, and the clerk asked me who would be in each room during our 3-night stay. I paused, remembering it was Vicky's night. I wrote her first name next to mine on one slip, and then Alina and Val's names on the second slip. The clerk pressed for the last names. Vicky and Val used my surname informally, so now it got awkward. Alina's the only one who legally shares my last name, wasn't sleeping in my room. I despise shopping, but with 3 wives who all like to shop, I've done my share of it. I developed a shopping strategy, though after an experience at Christmas one night, I went to the mall with Alina while she chose a specific special outfit. A few nights later, I ended up in the same store in the same mall with Vicky, who picked out the identical outfit. The same clerk was on duty and remembered me. I got the dirtiest looks I'd ever received. Now I have certain malls and stores reserved for each wife, which spares me embarrassment on many levels. My motto is fair but not equal. There are 3 ways I evaluate gifts for my wives: cost, number, and quality. I don't strive for equality in all 3 criteria individually, but for fairness across the board. Circumstances often affect what I do. Say it's Alina's birthday and I take her on a nice romantic trip. Months later, when it's Vicky's and Val's birthday, I'm crazy busy at work and can't get away, plus money is tight. I simply can't do the same thing I did for Alina. Over time, I try to even it out, but sometimes I get tripped up. One year, I spent the same amount of money on Christmas gifts, mostly clothes for Alina and Vicky, but Vicky had a few more boxes to open. That upset Alina. Oh my gosh, the way y'all, it's not for me. It is not for me. Only later did I figure out what was really going on. Alina happened to be feeling insecure about her weight that year and thought Vicky looked far better in her new Christmas clothes. In her mind, that's why Vicky had more packages to open. She got more gifts of clothing because clothing looked better on her. It seems kind of childlike to me. There are times when I connect more with one wife than another, and there are times when there are 3 relationships that are working smoothly. Unfortunately, there are also times when all 3 are not working and it seems I can do nothing right, especially when all 3 women's hormonal cycles align. Oh Lord, that would suck. That would suck. I found that when that occurs, it's best to stay low, keep my mouth shut, ignore my male tendencies to want to fix things, and just listen. I've sometimes wondered what I'm in for when the empty nest and menopause years arrive. Vicky. Not the menopause years. Vicky and I went through a rough period of marriage after birth of our 7th child in 2007 when she experienced severe pregnancy-related depression. My wives had had baby blues previously, but nothing like this. Vicky and I had been very close as we planned for this baby, but after Boston's birth, she descended into a deeper despair. I was blindsided by the fact that things Vicky and I had taken in stride before, such as sharing a husband and the demands of motherhood, were now causing her deep hurt and insecurity. I couldn't seem to do anything to make her happy or help her understand how much I loved and valued her. I remember wondering who had kidnapped my wife. Vicky blamed me for many things and constantly made comparisons among the 3 relationships with pressure on all of us. I felt extremely rejected by her attacks and mistrust. It was as though everything I had done, sacrificed, and given to her over the years meant nothing. I wasn't sure what to do, and for the first time in my life, I had no idea how to fix my marriage. My relationship with Alina happened to be at a pinnacle at the same time, causing even more distress for Vicky and strain between her and Alina. In the best of times, watching me go off in the arms of another wife requires a tremendous amount of mutual trust and respect. In bad times, trust and respect has to remain. Those qualities are the only things that make our lifestyle possible. It crushed me that the closeness with my other wives was hardship for Vicky. Interestingly, Vicky grew closer to Val, who had been on the same emotional roller coaster after pregnancy. Val also gave me insights, reminding me how important it had been to her that I never gave up and kept working at our relationship during that tough time. It helped that both Alina and Val were very generous in giving Vicky and me the time and space to work through our difficulties. That's not something that we see a lot of on the Browns. We were told about a time by Cody when he spent a significant amount of time with Christine. We never witnessed it though. We had to almost start over in our relationships, rekindling the excitement, appreciation, and trust of our earlier years. I'm often asked what the hardest thing is about living this way. I would say it's feeling overwhelmed, or that I'm not enough of a man to meet all of the needs of my wives. This experience with Vicky accentuated the difficulty for me. Whatever I did seemed inadequate. Ultimately, the love and support Val and Alina gave me, though painful to Vicky, supplied me with the strength and the confidence I needed to keep pressing forward. Vicky, to her credit, recognized that she needed help and began to see a therapist. She learned to verbalize her feelings. I had some changes to make too. I learned that I was not triggering and thus could not fix what Vicky was experiencing. Relationships has cycles, and the highs and the lows both pass. No matter where Alina, Vicky, Val, and I are on that wave, I still have to give the same quality and attention and love to each wife. And that's true even when the love, passion, and intimacy are at an ebb. It would be grossly unfair if I gravitated to which other woman was treating me sweeter, which is what Cody admitted that he did. He gravitated towards loyalty, and he went from one wife to another when a particular wife did something that he did not like. He admitted it, even in season 18 with that friend. So here you have this man saying, it wouldn't be fair for me to do it. It would be grossly unfair, he says, if I gravitated to whichever woman was treating me sweeter or looked more attractive on any given day. I have to go beyond the superficial and connect on a deeper spiritual and emotional level with each of my wives every day. That said, there is an aspect of personal responsibility that is even more critical in plural marriage than in monogamous relationships. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't carry 3 women's luggage through the airport. I can't carry 3 women's emotional baggage either. If I tried to fix and take care of every need, whether it was physical or emotional, there would be no end to the work, and I would be a little bit more than a pack horse. The best thing I could do, if, for example, Alina and Val are having a disagreement, is to listen to each of them and let them work it out. The minute I take on their emotional baggage, I enter in a no-win situation that leads only to dependency. So he don't really get involved when the women are going at it either. In our unique family structure, we have to maintain a healthy degree of independence and responsibility for meeting our own marital and emotional needs. But someone has to lead the family, which may be one of the most misunderstood aspects of polygamy. That yoke falls on me. As the head of the family, I'm like the CEO of a business. My wives are my vice presidents. We all are a part of the family administration, nearly equal in office. We make decisions together when it comes to the big things such as moving, going on vacation, or making a major purchase. If we can't make the decisions unanimously, we don't do it. That was another shortcoming of Big Love. The husband really tapped into the resources of the powerful women around him. We had a lot of competing ideas. For example, when we remodeled our backyard, from whether to include a volleyball pit to how big to make the sandbox and where to place it, to where to place the water feature. In the end, the design we adopted was the result of a collaboration and compromise. If no one has a strong opinion about something, I will usually make the decision. And in a family size of ours, someone has to be the ultimate decision maker on many small day-to-day issues, such as what time we're going to leave to the house to go to visit then the grandmothers. That's my job. Early on, I often tried to assert my status as the husband to get my wives to do what I wanted, but playing the patriarchy card wasn't working for me. Alina and Vicky weren't having anything to do with it. That and scripture set me straight. I realized I was trying to drive them, not lead them. Unrighteous dominion, the concept of trying to impose one's will on another, is an abuse of my priesthood authority, which is what Cody did a lot of. That is it. The God-given power and responsibility to lead my family and perform certain religious ordinances for them. If I can't lead my wives through the gentle persuasion to go into a certain direction, and I need to re-examine my reasons for wanting a particular outcome. I have had varying challenges in each of my relationships, and I am keenly aware that any one of my wives could choose to leave me at any time. I have an uncle who was in plural marriage. His second wife left him, and he was very hurt by it. She'd been my friend and shared so much of my life with me, he said to me one day. I feel like I've lost a part of myself. My uncle also was in turmoil about the pain and disruption his children were experiencing. He asked me this question. If Vicky were to choose to leave you tomorrow, what would you do? I thought for a moment before responding. I have to let go of that fear and focus instead on giving all I can so that I am not the catalyst for such a decision and have no regrets about my contribution to our relationship, I told him. So he didn't really answer him. Divorce. Like, you gave that whole spiel, but you didn't say what you would do. Divorce is a very serious matter in my view and is permissible only for the most egregious problems. The need to get along and work through problems, to treat each other with respect and unconditional love is critical, because when one relationship is in trouble, the discord ripples throughout the family. We have learned that problems have to be dealt with quickly or they have the potential to destroy the family, something that is also true of monogamy, where it takes personal growth and sacrifice to love and give fully to a partner so that the relationship can succeed. The decision to pursue plural marriage was, for me, similar to the choice people make when they decide whether or not to have children. I felt it promised a richer, fuller life, one with challenges and sacrifices, but also more varied experiences and enjoyment. I am head over heels in love with each of my wives, and awake each morning thrilled to spend another day with them. When everything is in sync and working, my plural relationships are a little bit of heaven on earth. Seeing the sacrifices my wives make for our plural marriage and receiving their unconditional love is humbling, and it makes me want to be a better man, one who is not ruled by his passions but gives all that he can. So here's the other big questions I get all the time. What about a fourth? While not opposed to the idea of another relationship, we are not actively pursuing another wife. There would have to be a fit. Everyone would have to want that change, and it would need to be spiritually guided process. To be honest, the prospects of expanding my family seem to fade as I get older. There are so many demands on my time and resources that it is not something I dwell on. Still, I felt this way before I married Val, and accepting her into our family turned out to be one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life. And that is the end of that chapter, of chapter 8. What do y'all think? Please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, because I hear them on the roof.